What's going on? Welcome back to this edition, Kriegs Korner. You may recognize this man on your left as Jeff Nadu. He's back. It's episode 2 on the show. Jeff, how you doing today?
Hey, Adam. Good to talk to you as always. Always enjoy talking to you.
So the first time we talked was a very more shot in the dark DM by me. You were just kind of everything had just kind of got down at Barstool. You hadn't really spoken about it, but I saw you were doing other podcasts, so I was like, you know what, like I love to hear your take on it. And college basketball season, we were kind of picking up, so it worked out. This time's a little bit different. We've been talking for a little bit, and after that show, I think there was some sort of miscommunication, and we're gonna talk about that now. So I'm just gonna kind of say for what happened from our side of the table. You started this new show, The Sit Down, Mafia show. It's a good listen. I listened to the most recent episode with Blackjack on my way home. I, I like that you guys kind of just got right into it, especially you two. You have war stories to tell, so I wanted to hear the Mafia side of it. So I'm appreciate you guys got right into it. But the original understanding from my side was that you were thinking this was always on the table for you, and that you were looking kind of for a place to go with it. And after we spoke, and then you spoke to my boss, I thought that things were going that way, and we put things in motion. A bunch of shit happened, and then it didn't. You ended up doing it on your own. So kind of like what happened with that, and I guess you can kind of say what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess last time I spoke to everybody at your cohort, we kind of talked off the record. They said, hey, do you want to give any ideas you're looking to do? I said, yeah, I'm going to do this mob podcast, and the guy that runs the company, who him and I talked. Maybe a day or two later, I said to him, hey, because again, I've made this very clear. Okay, I'm at a point in my life where I don't exactly know what is next for me. Okay, so
right.
This was the summer. I had planned to just kind of get something started, see where it goes, and at the point where I'm at, okay, like I just looked at it and said, you know what, I could just do this on my own. I'll just rock with it. I don't want to put anyone in a bad stretch, because if the show does well or doesn't do whatever, I don't know what my future is going to be. So it's to just kind of quickly do that. I didn't want to put anyone in a bad spot. I didn't think it was that serious. I didn't think I didn't sign anything. So at the end of the day, I always enjoy coming on with you. I'll come on with anyone, Carl, any of those guys. Like I have no ill will. I have no issue with those guys. I thought for me it was just easier. I have someone that I know that's good at just cutting stuff up quick, cutting shit up, throwing it out. We do it, we record it, it goes out. And it's not something that I think the problem that the pod will have, and I'll come out and say this right away, I don't care if one person listens to it or 1 million people listen to it. The show to me is just something that I love talking about and I enjoy talking about, and I'm just having fun with it. I didn't want to have like the need to feel that I had to do it, or I kind of just do what I wanted to do. And I've always tried to get to the point in my life where I'm basically just trying to do everything on my own and whatever. But yeah, I hope I at least I don't think with you there's any ill will. Any way I can help you guys, if it means retweeting your stuff, which I'll do, or come on your shows, whatever.
Right.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, and I guess I can only speak for my company, and what I've heard from them is that, so you came on my show, we talked, we had a meeting, me, you, and Trey, that boss you're referring to. We talked about the show. We kind of like brainstormed some ideas, and then you went on That's Some Cheese, which is his show with him and Carl and his producer Alex.
College basketball. Yeah.
And then at the end you winked. I don't know if you remember. You gave a little wink, like you're like hopefully maybe we'll be working together soon, and you winked. Whatever, not a big deal.
Here's the thing.
Okay, go. Yeah.
Let me just say this, okay? Because I don't hold no punches ever, right? So, all due respect, I didn't sign nothing. I said, look, I get people every day that contact me. Hey, you want to do this? Hey, you want to do that? I'm at the point in my life where, like, straight up, like, I got to make money off it. Like, it's just that simple. I can't keep, like, I hear it. I'm at the point where it's hard for me to kind of put time into something. And like I said, I wasn't really, this is just a passion thing for me. I actually found a little opportunity to get someone to sponsor where I can make a little money off it and whatever. But, and if I did that, I don't even think I can wink. So I don't remember doing that. But if I did, I don't mean it in any will. I mean, I think to promote the channel is the same thing. So I hope there's no bad blood. So I don't know.
It's just one of those things where like you said, it was probably just like more of a miscommunication. We know you didn't sign anything. It's not really how we things are still young here, so the money aspect of it is something that we were doing. But I like I said, I can only speak from like our perspective. Is we were, we had graphics made for you. I myself bought the premiere suite because I was ready to, ready to rock with you. Me and Trey were planning like what weekends we could go to Philly if that was the case.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
A premiere shoot, what does that cost?
I mean, it's like $150, but for me, I'm not making money. I'm in college. I'm an intern. It's not. Listen, it's not. It's more of less like not so much for me, but we were putting things in motion. We have all these logo shit. We have all this logo shit for you. Whatever. It's not. It was just because of a miscommunication. But like, there was a moment where we thought we were all aboard, and then it changed 24 hours later.
Yeah, again, like
You didn't sign anything. I know.
No, but again, when it comes to you, like on the humble, I'll pay for the premiere. I don't care. Like if I did, but like to your boss, and I again do not hold any punches. All due respect, it was like 2 days later. I said, hey, if we want, I can pull the info. Like
no,
I said,
listen,
I'm interested.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. If it works out, it works out. I made it very clear though. I'm in a spot where I don't really know where I'm going to go. So I don't know what he could be mad at. Whatever.
It is what it is. I just had to say what was going on. I think it would have been a little disingenuous of me because I got my hopes up. Listen, I got my hopes up. It was whatever.
You can. Here's what I'll say. I'll gladly pay for the premiere studio if you bought it only for me. I don't mind giving you the money for it. It's it's gonna cost me money, I guess, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna.
I know. I'm not after your money. I'm not doing. That's not what. It was just more.
I'm trying to still figure out if this is shtick or actually serious.
No, I'm dead serious.
Because when it comes to your boss, like I got to be honest, like get the fuck over it. Just saying.
No, I mean,
listen.
I'm respect. Go.
I don't understand. Like, I didn't sign shit. And to be real with you, like, why didn't he come on and tell me this? If he's got an issue, come on and talk to me. Like, I'm not going to hide from nobody. I'm out here every day doing shit every day, and you came on and talked to me. It's like it's like he's mad because I didn't pick him for my team or something. Like,
yeah,
I'm not that popular. I just am trying to do a show that I have a passion for.
Well, the popular thing is the other issue. Not an issue, but it's good for you. So what's the kind of update? I know things have been. You were been tweeting at Dave. A lot more retweets going back and forth. Is there any news with that? Anything you want to share or nah?
Well, I mean, you know how Dave is. I mean, you're a Barstool guy. You know Dave likes to, rock the boat.
Yeah.
The whole Rico, the whole, I'm going to reach. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Last time I talked to Dave, it was, and I don't really ever directly, like I talk to him occasionally, but like a lot of the time when we interact, it's between emissaries. So like I was just talking to Roan in passing, and I guess it got to Dave somehow, and they brought it up on the podcast they have. And, Dave talked about, it's 60-40. Listen, I'm going to say this because I think I was the only show I did that they talked about this on was on your own show,
right?
Which we did a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this again. It's been a couple of months since this all happened. When this all went down and I decided to leave Barstool, and I don't know if I told you this, but Roan said to me, he's like, you should really just sit down and talk to Dave, sit down and talk to Big Cat. Like, it'll all be good. It is what it is. Like, you're not coming up to the office. Maybe start coming up. We just chat. Everything's fine. I was just kind of in the whole thought of thinking, like, fuck it. Like, I'm just done with it. Like, the season's almost over anyway, blah, 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 blah. Looking back, I wish I kind of would have made a different decision because I think it would have been fine. I could have just worked it all out and we could have got to a point where it was okay. But we'll see. We'll see what football holds. We'll see what that holds. Right now and if you notice, I'm not tweeting as much. I'm just trying to do a little bit less with the internet and just trying to do other things. And, it's April, 22nd? Got a long time till August. So we'll see what happens in August.
Yeah.
I know how Dave works. I mean, it's going to be one of those, hey, why don't you come up and rock the boat? I don't know. Who knows? we'll see. I've always.
Are you going to be down with that though? Just like you've come up and rocked the boat, or
Well, I think
I know because you said you want things to be different if you were to go back and like.
Well, I think I want
be more
things to be
involved.
different. Adam, along the lines of that, like when I say different, like all I want to do is just be able to like work with people and it not be like if you work with him, you're fucked. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't. I have no problem planning. I fucking hate Rico. Everybody knows that. He hates me.
You just
And
want
I
a
don't
rational
need to-
work environment. It's not. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
No,
Like we can move around. You know, like I'm even. You know, I don't mind having fun with the beef. You know, it is what it is. I don't like the fucking guy. He didn't like me, so it's not that difficult. But I just don't want it to be, you know, hostile. Where, like you said, listen, the Bloods and the Crips have squashed beef. You know, it's not impossible. Do I think we'll ever have cookouts in our backyard? No, absolutely not. Civilly, yeah, I'm sure there are people at Barca that don't like each other. I'm not asking to work with the guy. You know, I just want it to be civil, and who knows what will happen. But yeah, I'm fine with playing any part. And I know at this point, like everyone has a niche there. Like some people, like Frank Fleming's niche is he's a mad Mets fan. You know, Troops is the London soccer. Like everyone has a niche. If my niche is the college basketball guy that gets in a Rico skin, that's my niche, I guess.
Actually, do want to use that little.
The following is brought to you in partnership by Symbol. Symbol is a new sports marketplace where you can trade shares of professional teams like stocks. You love sports. You interested in fantasy sports without the weekly annoyance of fantasy league upkeep? Then Symbol's the app for you. With Symbol, fantasy sports is going to a whole other level. How it works is simple. You buy Symbol shares for your favorite sim teams on the app. When your sim team wins, you get automatic cash deposits, and you don't lose any money when they lose. That's it. So if you follow trends across football, basketball, and baseball, and you think your team is a sleeper, simply invest in your favorite sim teams on Symbol and watch your virtual portfolio prove you right or wrong. And if you want to get in on the action right away, Vendetta Sports Media's got you covered. Go to symbol.app/Vendetta and use our exclusive promo code Vendetta, and you'll get a $10 bonus when making your first deposit. Symbol, taking fantasy sports to a whole other level.
Soccer transition into out of this little conversation. So this Super League is nonsense. I'm not a soccer guy. I know you. I don't know if you were like our hardcore soccer guy, but I know you're betting on soccer. I know that's it's up your alley. What is it actually going to happen? I know Barcelona is the only team that still says they're in it, or is it just like a bunch of fucking smoke?
No, it looks like the Super League is done. I didn't think it would. I think once all the ostracization came out with every league's fan base, every team's fan base is just up in arms. The whole world was basically sick about it. You kind of saw that it wasn't going to happen. They wanted it to happen, but there was so much backlash that they just had to pull it. I will say this, like when you really look into it, it sucks that football fans are treated that way, because I think over here in America, like we basically understand that, you know, the Eagles are a business, or the Mets are a business, or the Rams are a business. Like we're okay with it. We have our love for a team, but we know that ultimately they don't give a shit about us, the teams.
Right.
Over there, it's different. You know, those fans created those teams. You know, over here, we don't create teams. They just are there. We have them. The league start. Over there, you know, Arsenal was started by fans. You know, they were started hundreds of years ago. So it means a lot more. It's like it's almost like you know, part of your entire life. You know, every week they play. So it hits a lot different for them. And they can actually, you know, get owners to leave clubs. You can't do that here. You know, but over there, just
no one can do it here. Yeah.
So.
But there's got to be like a better solution to soccer championships and stuff, because they have to do some sort of like tournament or something, because no playoffs. These there's so many different championships. Like, why isn't there just one championship? Like,
yeah, there's a lot to keep up with.
There needs to be something like that. And I know that this probably wasn't the best way of going to get that goal, but that was going to be the ultimate result. Was we were going to find out who the best soccer team in the soccer club or football club, whatever you want to call it, in the world was. We're going to find out.
But isn't that why you have the Champions League? You know, it's like, I think that's the issue. Like, I have no issue if you want to create a new league, like that is separate from the other stuff that you're doing. So if you want to, like, just scrap the Champions League then and just do that league. You know, the whole thing with like, that's the only league they're playing in. That's a little tough, but you know, I do think there are a lot of things about soccer that are great. They have the relegation system, which we don't have, which I think we should have. It's definitely pure, but yeah, they have a lot more movement over there as far as the fans, and they can create boycotts and things like that. And they actually boycott, so it's
Yeah,
it's
they
helpful.
got shit done.
They go out and do stuff like that.
What do you think the best U.S. sport for the relegation system would be? Like, what do you think? What?
Well, I guess it would be baseball because there's actually legitimate leagues. But now that the NBA has the G League, that would work. I don't know what the NFL would do. I don't. They don't really have a feeder league.
The Jets just wouldn't be in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, it would be crazy because but like where would you send the Jets and the Jags and a team like where would they go? Would they go play?
Put them in the CFL or some shit.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to partner with like the CFL or something like that. But I think the quality of
listen,
they're two different.
The NFL wants to make more money, make another fucking league, put it on weekdays in the off season, and you figure out go back and forth.
The problem though with the CFL and like the NFL would be like in Europe, like in England, for instance, the championship, which is the second level, it's not the same quality as the Premier League, but it's the same rules, it's the same everything. In the CFL, I mean, they have totally different rules. There's no fourth down. There's no, there's all sorts of different things. So it'll never happen. There's things that would be way better for life in general if they were to happen, but they won't happen because it'd be too big of an undertaking. And I think the league just look at it and say, it's working now. Let's just keep it that way.
Yeah, I guess, but you're kind of right. You kind of hit the nail on the head with the owners and the fans, and like, why aren't the teams like these teams that make fucking billions of dollars? Like, why can't they make some more money? Like, whatever. Maybe it's just a fucking, capitalism thing versus non-capitalist. But
well, I mean, capitalism, as anyone that with a functioning brain will tell you, is the only way this country can work. I know, look, there are a lot of things about this country that I think are socialist, that are good. I mean, if we're going to be in the same country, all of us, we should all be a part of the same society. We can't have where everyone makes one amount of money and there are tons of poor people. That's not working. But to say that we could do it any other way would be stupid. We're not going to ever do it any other way. But yeah, in sports, like any other business, it's about money at the end of the day. And that was one thing about the people over in Europe that they don't seem to understand, that eventually it's not going to be just about your club. It's about football. It's about money. It's about how do we get the best players. That all takes money. And these people that are coming over from England or not from England, from the US, from Dubai or wherever, they have deep pockets and they feel like they can buy the people they want and they want to make it like the US.
Speaking of money, MLB season back in full swing. It's kind of like a weird gambling time because baseball is such a 162 games, long seasons, bad teams win, great teams lose. What's your strategy for MLB betting? You do straight up? How do you do it?
Well, baseball is a lot more laid back. I think for me, I don't sell picks. I don't really do a ton of content for it. I just bet it on my own. I've always done that. I think you have to be willing to, it's an everyday thing. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of things going on. I think the one rule of thumb that I would have is if you constantly are laying juice on every game, you're not going to make any money. You've got to be willing to bet underdogs. You've got to be willing to get in bed with pitchers and look for spots where maybe you isolate the pitcher that you really like a guy like John Means at Baltimore. Is Baltimore a good team? No, but I think Means is real good. And, if I can find a spot in the first five where, I can lay a half a run or even get a half run and get -110 or +110, it's all about limiting the juice in every play I have, betting as many dogs as I can. If I like a favorite, can I convert that favorite into a full run line? Can I convert it into even a -1 line? Can I bet a first five minus a half? All that stuff is critical. And then obviously with the totals, finding pitchers that I don't think are good, like a Matt Moore from Philadelphia that, I just don't think he's a major league pitcher. Isolating matchups where, like the Cubs, very good against left-handed pitching, might be an auto bet every time they face a lefty. The Dodgers, not a good team against left-handed pitching, might be a fade when they're laying against a lefty. So I think it's all about just keeping track of where teams are. Bullpens, what bullpens are good, what bullpens are bad. You know, maybe a pitcher didn't pitch well. Maybe he has an injury. Are they throwing him back out there? You know, all that stuff is so critical. That's where you got with Matt Moore. Like Matt Moore was injured. He was getting shredded. He had an injury. We'll see if he comes back. He's any different. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Big potpourri, if you will.
What's the most juice you'll like? What's the number over 180, 190? You won't even touch it.
No, I don't lay much over 120, to be real frank with you. It's just not really something I want to do. I think there's enough money to be made, especially with baseball. There's so many different things you can bet that you don't have to lay juice. You know, team totals. You know, there's first fives, and those are great bets because you're not involved with the bullpen. You're focusing on one pitcher, and you know, it's like the Phillies the other night against the Giants. They had Zach Wheeler on the mound. You delay a half a run, so you had to have the lead after the fifth inning. And, you know, the Giants are throwing out, I think, Webb or somebody like a shitty pitcher. I felt like they're going to get at least a run or two off them. I just need them to have the lead. And if they don't have the lead, they don't have the lead. That if I'd have bet the full game, they're not likely to win anyway if they don't have the lead. So why don't I just focus in on a good pitcher against a bad team, and I'll rock with what I have. And it worked out.
Did you win that Wheeler bet?
I did. It wasn't easy. It was 4-1 going into the fifth or 4-0, and it ended up 4-3, but I got out of it and I was happy with it. And I didn't really want to deal with the rest of the game. That's the good things about first halves, because you look at it and a lot of the time you'll bet the first half, win, and then the second half comes around, you find a way to lose, and you're like, damn, I wish I would have played the first half. But it's all a balancing act, man. You have to kind of just – every game's different. And, sports betting is mostly about, I think, when it comes to just being prepared and sitting there and actually understanding and watching what happens, knowing who's playing, know who's hurt. It's all kind of rudimentary. But even back to soccer, a lot of people just jump in and bet soccer, and it's like, you can't do that. You have to be willing to understand that there's a domestic league, there's a Champions League, there's a Europa League, there's a international qualifying, there's World Cup, there's Euro Cup, there's so many different things. There's friendlies, there's so many things. There are Nations League, there are the cups.
That's why they need some sort of super league. This probably wasn't the exact solution, but there's got to be there's got to be more uniformity. I know it's bigger, but we need a single thing to bet on a season, and then you do all your other shit like that.
Well, I mean, and that's something
that's the American idea. Probably, I'm being ignorant, but it's
I don't hate what you're saying. I mean, when you look at kind of soccer, that's one of the reasons that right now, I only really bet the Italian league, Serie A. I do the qualifying and the World Cup and that kind of stuff, but I don't sit there and bet every league because it's tough. I mean, it's tough to keep track of everything. And I've always noticed that over the years, if you just focus and are really good and something's working, you stick with that. And I've had some success over the last year and a half with, betting the Italian league. Now I bet the Premier League, I bet the Championship, I bet League One, I bet League Two, all that stuff. But England's really been hit hard by the coronavirus, not necessarily the virus itself, just the economic thing.
Yeah.
If you look at the lower leagues, they're struggling. A lot of the teams are struggling to stay afloat. So Italy's been fine, and Serie A's been good. So
you don't really have any reservations about betting on your own teams. You bet the Phillies, you bet the Eagles, you do all that.
I don't care. I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. I don't look at sports that way. I've never looked at it that way. You have to differentiate that sports betting is not, at least for me, whenever you involve money with something, you can't just irresponsibly just do it without thinking. You have to think. And I know people say, well, he fucking sucks at betting, so he just wastes whatever.
Right. That shit doesn't fucking matter. Everyone's got a bankroll. They have money to lose or money. Well, exactly. That shit.
But it's also I'm not going to just for instance, if I go to a mechanic and the mechanic is not a good mechanic and he keeps charging me, I'm just going to go somewhere else. I'm not wasting my money just to waste my money, right. I'm going to think about it a little bit. I'm going to put some time into it, and I'm going to, just because I'm a fan. No, I couldn't care less. Listen, if the Eagles win on Sundays, I as a sports fan a long time ago that it doesn't like I remember Eagles won the Super Bowl. Didn't change my life a bit. Like I didn't start making more money. My dad used to tell me that when I was a kid, because my dad's not a big sports fan. So my grandpa was a big sports fan that got me into it. But he used to tell me, he used to say, like, if you look at some of these football fans, they put their whole life into the Eagles or the Dolphins or whoever. And he's like, you think if they put that much time into their own life, their career, they'd be billionaires. I never thought of it. Like, you're right. Like these guys that go to these games and they put, and back then, like you couldn't make money off being like a super fan. Now you can. But you would like, I remember would see family members of mine that would like, they wouldn't have a pot to piss in hardly. And they're spending hundreds of dollars on tickets and shit. And I used to say to myself, like, I don't think I'll ever be like that, but sports is important. Then I got older and it's like, well, it's not really that important. Like sports now for me are just kind of a business. I enjoy basketball. That's one thing I do love. But, if it went away, it would more or less for me be the issue that I like betting on it. It's not necessarily the fact that I love it.
I think if the Mets won the World Series, my life would actually be changed forever. Like, I think at least from my perspective, probably because I don't have any championships, just because like,
well, I'll tell you right now,
I'm the loser in the New York side of it. So like shit sucks. Like I would like to have one. I think that's fair. Like I grew up as the loser.
Well, I think also like weirdly enough, like you almost look at the fact that you haven't won and it's like a lure in a way. Like when you do win, like for instance, like Eagle fans, like our whole being is negativity, right? Like, so
Mets are very similar. Mets are very similar. You see Frank is the most extreme, but like he's not far off from a lot of people.
Right. But it's like now the Eagles have won. So it's like, well, yeah, what are you bitching about? You won 2 years ago. So it's like, it does lose its luster because it's almost like a battle. Like at what point are they actually going to win? Is this ever going to happen? Is ever going to, and when they win, it's almost like, okay, well now what? Where do we go now? I don't know.
Man. Yeah. When it comes to me and betting on my teams, like, first of all, I'm a Jets fan, so that shit doesn't fucking matter. Like betting on them is losing your money every single week. So that's just irresponsible in my opinion. But like when I first started, I was first betting games like whatever, fucking 20, $30 a game. Like when I was betting the Mets all the time at 15, and I was like, when like you said, when you add money, it changes the game. And I'm already mad enough when the Mets lose important games and do shit like that. Like I don't need to fucking start losing real money with it too. And that's so I just have like one rule, just no teams.
Well, I bet
against
the
Yankees. I hate them, but I won't bet on the Mets.
I think I noticed also, like I've always said this, like kids coming up that are like they have issues, like they're bad kids or whatever. Like I've said before, like I think every kid in America should like have to spend a weekend in a prison, like when they're like 12, and they learn. They learn not to do stupid shit, or you get hit when you're a kid. I remember I got hit one time in my life, and I never did that shit again. And nowadays you hit a kid and it's bad. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I think a sports book, I've said for a long time, you can see some really sad shit in a sports book, man. And I began to learn quickly. Like I would go to sports books in Atlantic City or when they first came out, even in Philadelphia, like there's a casino called Sugar House. And I would go there and I would just see like these people who, I mean, it's clear they don't have much to rub together. They're throwing $5 down on parlays and just I think quickly you whip into shape on saying like, you know what, like this is money. Like if I don't have, money for rent, like what do you have to whip up quick. You can't just waste money on shit. And going to a sports book, you'll see that, man.
I'm lucky in the fact where because I think for every, kid or male my age or grew up in this, especially where it's becoming legal and more like it's okay. Gambling is at one point is going to be someone that everyone like sports gambles on something. And I had my phase, luckily, when I was still fucking a lot younger, didn't have any actual money when I was like I was like pretty much football addicted. Like we have a video casino like 15 minutes from my house. No dealers, none of that. I'm in New York. So before they start changing those laws, but like I got my eyes open to those people that sit there at those video fucking crap stables, betting $5 on 6 different machines, so they don't have to pay taxes. And you see the low lifes of the low lives. Even fucking, I mean, we used to take a trip to Twin Rivers in Rhode Island. It's about 4.5 hours from where I'm from, and the people there are just like, it's disgusting. And it was thank God I got a wake up call when I was young and before I actually started making money, because that shit could have been dangerous. But
Well, I remember, and I don't think I've ever talked about this publicly, but when I lived in Philadelphia, I lived up this really narrow street, and you would know everybody that you lived with and around. And there was a guy that lived up my street. He was like a few doors away from me. He was a pretty degenerate gambler, like pretty bad. Like he would waste a ton of money. He had no nickel to rub together. He's blowing all his money. And I remember one time, at night, you heard just bricks through his windows, and he owed somebody money that he didn't pay. And a few days later he moved. I never saw him again. And like, you see shit like that happen, and you see gambling or whatever. Like you almost look at like drug addicts and think like, wow, it can't be that bad. But there are people that are addicted to shit like that. And there are gamblers like that. And I guess I don't have that bone in my body really. I just do it for a way to try to make money, and that's it. I don't have to go to a casino and play roulette or slots or whatever. So luckily,
I love me some blackjack. I love me some good old blackjack.
Sure, and a lot of people do, but like you're not someone that like travels hours on end every day just to go play blackjack. And I think you luckily don't have that gene, but it's a rotten gene.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're kind of helping that while legalizing the sports gambling, because you're making it, where you're not betting on credit. You have to put your money in. You're not reaching like,
sure.
And so it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah, it's helpful. I mean, if you want to waste your money, it's up to you.
Exactly.
And that's the good thing.
And you're not going to get a brick through your window, not from the not from the casino,
in this case,
at least,
because you're not getting credit. But that's the good thing about America, where there is some libertarian view, where like we're going to allow you to, if you want to do it, do it. And that's why, like, I don't understand why states say like you can't gamble on sport. Like, why? I mean, it's my decision. It's my money. How are you going to tell me I can spend my money? So yeah, that's the good thing about sports books. There's no credit, so that's good.
It'll keep a lot of people afloat. Into the NFL, we kind of alluded to the draft before. Just a few quick things. Give me, first of all, what do you think the Eagles are going to do? What's the deal now? Which they said that Jalen Hurts isn't going to start. He's got to win a job, and then it's kind of like clarified that no one's guaranteed a starting job. But
yeah, I don't really understand the thought process for that. I guess the thought process for him is that you don't ever want him to like rest on his laurels. I guess. I mean, you want him to come in and expect to, with a new regime, it's going to be, you got to play up to your caliber. But I think he's a hard worker, and I don't really care. I don't know who he's competing with. They're not going to take a quarterback. It's not going to happen. But then again, with this team, you never know. I think that's the $1 million question. What do they do? I'll tell you what I would do. But, if I'm them, it's pretty simple. If Parsons is there, I would take Parsons. Pretty simple. They have never, ever cared about linebackers, frankly. I mean, really since, I don't know, mid-2000s, they haven't cared about linebackers, and they've paid for it, okay? They have had issues. They need kind of a conductor on defense, and I think Parsons can be that. He's a local kid. He's from Harrisburg.
He'd be a huge Penn State guy. He'd be immediately adored by everyone.
Kind of like how, when LaShawn McCoy came here from Pittsburgh, he's from Harrisburg. Like, people loved him. And, I think Parsons is just kind of the next Khalil Mack. He's the next Darius Leonard. He's the quarterback of the defense. And this team desperately needs that. I'll continue to say this. And I'm a pretty negative Eagles fan. I don't think this team is that far off. I don't. I think offensively, they have some real talent. I think the offensive line is going to be healthy and good. Sanders is legit. Reagor's a nice player, but I think it's important that in the first 2 rounds, it's pretty simple. If you go defense, so whether it's Parsons, Horn, Surtain, those are the 3 guys on defense. It's that simple. On offense, I wouldn't care if they take Waddle, Smith. I don't want an offensive lineman. I don't want a quarterback. Other than that, I don't think there's a bad decision. I don't want to trade down. I don't want to do any of that. Take a player at 12. So if it's an offensive player at 36, you take a defensive player. If it's a defensive player at 12, you take an offensive player. So it's pretty simple. They need a quarter or a receiver, a linebacker, and a corner or safety. They need to address at least 2 of those in the first 2 rounds. It's pretty simple.
Is it a lock that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the best quarterback from this draft class, or
is it a lock? No, I don't think it's a lock. I don't think this group is particularly strong. And I think, that nothing's ever a lock. Ryan Leaf was supposed to be a great player. Tim Couch was supposed to be a great player. Tom Brady wasn't going to be a good player, and look at him. None of these people that talk on TV know what they're talking about, whether it's, what's that guy's name? With the hair.
I don't know.
Mel Kiper,
Wow,
or any of these guys.
the guy who's never had any of the first round draft picks in the last 3 years on his board. Yeah, that guy, Mel Kiper.
Yeah.
They're going to say Orlovsky. He doesn't know anything either.
Yeah, all those guys. It's all just their opinion. I like Zach Wilson, and I think if you've watched him on the field, he's got the ability to kind of jump in and play right away. He can read the whole field. He's got a great arm, can handle the football, not going to make a ton of mistakes. There's a lot of things to like about him.
I'm nervous about him. I am. I'm not a huge college football guy. I watch the big games and all that, but I did spend a brief year in Coastal, so I made sure I was tuning into the Coastal games, and that BYU Coastal game, I just don't understand where your football IQ is, where you have to throw the ball at the end zone when you need to score a touchdown. There's one there's no reason you could tell me that is not the case, and I think that was I'm just being super narrow and thick-headed because that's all I've seen, but yeah. I think I've seen enough.
Well, and that was the one knock on him. Like if you said to me like what was a weakness of his, and that would be one I'd bring up. I mean, he was not particularly good in that game. But then there were games like, the game he had against UCF, where he picked
I know he can ball out. It's just he doesn't fucking matter. The Jets are going to suck anyway.
That's true. I think teams though, find their way eventually. Not the Jets, I guess, but you got to make the picks that you have. And I think Zach Wilson has shown enough. I don't think one game is going to be a different. Look, he was really good against BYU or UCF. He was very good against San Diego State. He was very good against Boise. He was not particularly good against Coastal Carolina. I don't think one game is going to be the difference for me with him. If you ask me personally, who I would want most, I would probably say him. I think he's got really kind of an interesting look to him. I think he could scan the whole field, and I think with one issue was that game, I'm okay. Kids have bad games. Trevor Lawrence had bad games.
Yeah, he did. All right. Last question before I let you go. Best player in this draft. No, sorry, not best player. We kind of went over that. Who is going to be the biggest surprise of this draft, good and bad?
Well, I think just to quickly answer, like the best player is.
Yeah, and the best player is Kyle Pitts. I think.
I would go Jamar Chase personally, but again, maybe that's just my obsession with Jamar Chase. I don't know. If I'm the Bengals, I think it's pretty important that you take Jamar Chase. But yeah, I mean, Pitts is terrific as well. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. What was the question? Who do I think is
biggest like surprise, like biggest bust and biggest like name that we're gonna look back and be like, how'd they go that low?
Yeah, bust. I don't want to say he's a bust. I worry a little bit about a kid like Rondell Moore. I mean, he's coming off an injury. I'm not going to say he's damaged goods. He has the ability to be really good, but I have a weird feeling he turns to just like a decent punt return, and that's about it. And he just kind of wallows in Jacksonville or something. But bust. I don't know. I think I don't know if there's a lot of maybe Mac Jones. I don't know. He comes across busty to me. I don't think
he goes to San Francisco at 3.
No, I think he'll go maybe to New England at 10. They trade up or something. Because they would have to trade up. I think that could make sense. I think the quarterbacks out the board are Lawrence, then Wilson, then Fields or Lance, and then Mac Jones.
We'll see what happens with Trey Lance. He's got that Josh Allen sniff to him, probably the FCS, but like
sure does.
We'll see what happens. All right. Jeff Nadu, big man on campus, at Jeff Nadu on Twitter. Make sure you listen to his podcast, The Sit Down Mafia Anthology or Story, whatever you want to call it. It was good. I will say that. I kind of was hoping at first I didn't like it, but.
Well, listen, man, it's just a passion. I don't I'll be real honest with you. Once football starts, it'll be hard to do the show. So it's just something I always wanted to do. Like I said, if I could get 5 people to listen to it, now more people have listened to it than more than 5, but it's just a passion for me. If you ask me, like, if I could do one thing in the world, what would it be? It would be to do a show like that and open it up to all sorts of cool interviews and shit like that. I just really like the topic, and that's about it.
Make sure you check it out. Thank you for listening. Kriegs Korner. Have a good day, everyone.